Что же такое Angel Squad в принципе?
Мы специально ориентируемся на людей, которым интересны стартапы, которые заинтересованы в вложении капитала в стартапы.
В чем разница между Angel Squad и The Hustle Fund?
Да, это хороший вопрос.
Как, черт возьми, возможно пройти через это и оценивать более 1000 компаний в месяц?
Мы видим 1000 компаний. Мы встречаемся примерно с 40 из них.
Как вы решаете инвестировать в компанию? На какие именно критерии ты обращаешь внимание сразу?
Мы подробно об этом расскажем.
A whole new series of interviews with angel investors, with product managers, with ML engineers, with startup founders, whoever is in the technology world that I hope everybody loves and adores. Thinking about the first candidate to kick off this series of interviews, I couldn't think of a better candidate than our guest today.
Thank you. That's awesome. I'm excited to be here.
How are you?
I'm great. Yeah, looking forward to this.
Yeah. So Bryan is a technological guy, I would say, in many respects. He was a founder himself. He was an operational manager in many companies, relatively big. And these days he is a co-founder, or founder is better to say, of Angel Squad. So Bryan, could you please tell us a little bit more what is basically Angel Squad is?
Yeah, super excited to share more, and also looking forward to you having more Angel Squad members as guests on this podcast, so or interview series. So Angel Squad is a program that I co-founded with Hustle Fund a little more than 3 years ago, back at the end of 2020, where we are teaching people how Hustle Fund, which is an early stage venture capital fund, makes investment decisions and then gives access to invest alongside our fund to a diverse set of. So a lot of people who join this program have never written a single angel investment check. These are people who typically write between $1,000 and $5,000 or $10,000 investments. So, I think historically people think of angel investors as writing $25,000 or $100,000 or $250,000 checks. That's just not what it is today. And that's not who we have really designed this program for. We are specifically targeting people who are curious about startups, who are interested in deploying capital into startups, or you could just be interested. Maybe you're looking for advisor roles, or maybe you're looking for a new job and you want to get smarter about how to identify which ones are high potential. You can apply the same frameworks that you use for making investments with your dollars, and then apply that for making investments with your time. So, that's what it's gone really well. Over 1,500 people have joined to date after 3 years. TechCrunch has written about us. The New York Times has written about us. And we have people from over 40 different countries in Angel Squad. So it's not just for people, let's say, in the United States. It's for people in Africa. It's for people in Singapore. We have people from all over the world. And we're really proud of that fact that we're democratizing access, giving more people from more places a chance to participate in what has historically been over the decades of its existence. It's been and that is not the case anymore. And we're really trying to provide an on-ramp for more people who are interested in the space.
Yeah, great. Sounds really awesome. And I, as a member of Angel Squad, can only agree with you 100%. The experience, the user experience, the community, sort of belonging, this feeling of belonging to something great, is really exciting. But I was really wondering, maybe you could please specify or clarify to our audience, what's the difference between Angel Squad and Hustle Fund, which I think most of the time people actually misuse?
Yes, that's a good question. So Hustle Fund is an early stage venture capital fund that's has existed for about 7 years now. And so that was founded by Elizabeth Yin and Ericom, a couple friends from Stanford, and then she and co. And so Hustle Fund has raised 3 different funds now, almost $100 million under management to date. And just to timestamp this is early 2024. So Hustle Fund invests out of its fund into software companies that are all over the world. I was a follower and fan of Hustle Fund for a long time. And I came to Hustle Fund with this idea of, you guys are great teachers, you are great investors, you're great community builders. I am good at running programs. Why don't we pair up and I'll run an angel investor program that's plugged into your venture fund, where you teach, you share the deals where you're investing out of Hustle Fund, and I will kind of build a bridge between you and a community of investors. And so that's Angel Squad. And we started that again, late 2020. And, we had this aspiration of like, maybe over time, we'll get to 10,000 new angels that we bring into this ecosystem. We're almost at 2,000 now, 3 years in. So we feel very confident we're going to get there. And I think this whole idea of like an angel investing program and community, like you mentioned, of like feeling like you belong, I think it really has resonated. And, anyway, I hope that really clarifies the distinction between the fund.
Yeah, 100%. But still, the question is open. How did you end up getting acquainted with, what is the story behind joining from very rich experience in corporate world,
Yes. So I guess, my quick journey starting in 2011, I was a founder for about 3 years. After that, I joined Lyft, the ride sharing company, 2014, pink mustache on the front of the car days, that I guess now a lot of people don't even remember that ever happened. But that's when I was at Lyft. And over time, I started to realize, wow, there's this a really interesting other side of the table in the startup world. Most people sit on the employee side or the founder side, but what about the other side where you're an investor? And it seems like that's a pretty cool place to be, because you are able to diversify into more companies. You're getting preferred shares instead of common shares, which is actually a pretty big deal if you're investing dollars. And so I really wanted to get on that side of the table. I started a syndicate on AngelList where I invited all of my old Lyft friends, people who I worked with for years, to invest alongside me in the deals that I found. So I was hustling, I was networking really, with all these different venture capital funds, angel investors, founders, just building a huge network for deal flow. And that network included Hustle Fund. And I started to develop a relationship with the team there, and they're really active on social media. And so I started to really appreciate the content that they were creating. And over the course of a couple of years, while I was running the Lyft syndicate, where again, I'm finding deals and then I'm writing up a memo and I'm sharing these investments. I had a mentor named Mira. She was actually the first investor in Lyft, on the board of Lyft for about 10 years. She taught me how to review deals. And we did that every week for years, and we still do it. And I was like, lucky, like how I got so lucky that I got this amazing mentor to learn how to do this, because everyone else I asked, like, how do you invest in startups? They were like, I don't know, like read venture deals, or, just start writing checks. And I was like, well, that's kind of expensive to just start writing checks into companies without having a clue what I'm doing. So I was like, this needs to exist. There's all these people in this syndicate, my friends from Lyft. I opened it up to just anyone from the public could join my syndicate. That was the Lyft Alumni Syndicate. And I just started to realize, wow, there's these people from all over the world who want to do this, but I'm not confident that they really know how to do this. And what if we built a program for them where they could learn and where they could meet other people who are also in that same headspace? And so that's where I kind of came to, and then I identified that Hustle Fund was really the perfect partner for this, just from kind of observing them and networking with them and sharing deals with. I personally had invested in 4 of the same companies that Hustle Fund had. So we had this kind of similar taste in software companies. So then I reached out and I said, hey, I'm going to start this angel investing program. Would you 3 be interested in? And they said, yeah, absolutely. Like we're happy to do that. But also, what is this that you're building? Because we actually have an idea that's somewhat pretty similar, actually. And do you want to work on this? And then, as we started to explore it, it was pretty obvious, like the answer for both parties was yes, we should do this together.
Yeah, hopefully that ended in such a way. But I'm still curious. Just given your experience at Lyft as a syndicator, basically, did the people follow you from? Because honestly, I've seen only a couple of them. It's like it's not hundreds in Angel Squad. How many?
No. True. Yeah. That's a good question. There's not a ton of people from Lyft who followed me over. I would say so when I opened the Lyft syndicate up to anyone, there was a wide range of people who joined. And in our first couple cohorts of Angel Squad, I would say maybe 20% of them were so they followed me over. They weren't necessarily associated with Lyft at all, but they were curious to see, okay, I've been following this guy. I've invested in a bunch of his deals that he shared, and now he's starting this thing over here that seems kind of different. I want to check it out. So that was the case in the early days.
Yeah. No, just a fun fact to maybe looking back and synchronize with your old friends. What's going on? Maybe there is another deal flow coming out, and new interesting startups to look at.
Yep.
But still, so these days, just coming back to Angel Squads, you've got approximately a little bit more than 1,500 members in the Angel Squads, coming from very, very different sort of professions. Would you say anything that any sort of three features that unite? So what would you say the average profile of the members that you?
Yeah. So over the years, I've met with probably 2,500 people who are interested in Angel Squad. Because we interview every single person over a 15-minute call. And so I've gotten to really know what kind of, doesn't matter where they are, what they do. They are all, number one, really curious people, I would say, in general. And they're curious about startups. They're curious about what's coming next. They're curious about technology. And so whether they're 10 years at Google, or maybe they're 5 years as a founder, maybe they've successfully exited a company, or maybe they're a chef based in Turkey, maybe they're a pilot based in Australia who flies for Qantas Airlines. They all are curious about, I've been watching from afar. They say, I've been watching this from afar, and I've always wanted to get smarter about how do you assess startups. And I would say, it's interesting too that most people recognize that this is a high risk asset class. It's very unlikely that you're going to nail the next Uber that's a 5,000x outcome. If you put $5,000 into Uber at the seed round, you would have made 25 million. There are people who did that. But they're not citing that. They're not like, I want to come in and be, see that sort of return, because they know that's not realistic. But what they do think is they have some why. And this is something I would urge you to ask people when you do future interviews with Angel Squad members, like, outside of the returns that you hope for, why do you angel invest? What is it? And I think you find a lot of really interesting things. I found, one person, for example, lost a parent to cancer. And so that she wants to invest in biotech, and she wants to do it because she's passionate about finding a cure and just trying to get, see what's at. And I thought, that's what a great example of like why people angel invest. So you end up hearing these really, interesting stories about what's driving. And so I guess like the connective tissue too, for us is Hustle Fund has really done a good job communicating to the world that we are a place for, and I think angel investing has historically been pretty intimidating for people. And we try to make it super welcoming. I think you mentioned that earlier. We want people to understand that this is a safe place for them to have conversations where they can share. I don't understand some of these fundamental things. Like, can I just ask the question about what do these terms mean? And that is absolutely encouraged. And so we have a strict no a-hole, and that's part of the process. When we meet with people, for that 15-minute call that I mentioned, the whole point of that really is to make sure that this is somebody who we think will respect the policy, and keep that safe space intact. And so I think hopefully that's a bit of a helpful answer. The last thing is most people are new to angel investing. They are curious about it. So they haven't written 10 they haven't invested hundreds of thousands of dollars. They're more at the very beginning of this journey and are just interested in.
No, 100% agree with you. The people that I talk to at Angel Squads, they're almost sort of down to earth, very modest. They acknowledge that they are not Jason Calacanis, the luckiest investor in the world who hit 250x at Uber and like as a first angel investment. And just the life goes on. Everybody has its own, So just let's say carrying on with the magnitude, with the scale of this angel squad community, but and even talking previously to Eric. He mentioned like you guys somehow, how on earth is it possible to get through and to is it?
That's Hustle Fund. So Hustle Fund has done a great job building a brand as really the leading pre-seed venture capital fund for software companies. I think Elizabeth Yin has over 100,000 followers on Twitter. People obsess over her because she is such a great investor, is just a wealth of startup knowledge. She's incredible. And so I think the word is out. If you're a founder, software company, a lot of people think, okay, I'm going to apply to Y Combinator. That's one path. And then another path that a lot of people take is I'm going to apply for funding on the Hustle Fund website. And so we make that really streamlined. You go to the website, hustlefund.vc, you fill out a form. It goes into our system. It doesn't take you too long to fill out the form. If you don't have those answers to those questions, then you're probably not ready to start your company. And so it's pretty streamlined to get your kind of the opportunity to invest in your company in Hustle Fund. And our website sees a ton of traffic, and most of that traffic is from founders. And yes, we do have other deal sources, right? Like a lot of connected venture capitalists who also invest in startups at the same stage as us. They'll send us their deals. Angel Squad members are referring dozens of deals probably every week at this point. So we're getting some solid deal flow from the squad, but also, I think founders just know if you're a pre-seed company working on a software startup, you should probably come submit your opportunity to Hustle Fund and we'll take a look.
Yeah. And what is the approximate conversion rate of this, let's say 1,000 companies that you look at that you subsequently invest into? What is the percentage?
Yeah, per month. So Hustle Fund's model is, we see 1,000, we meet with about 40 out of the 1,000. And then we invest out of that 40 into 5 to 10 per, and that check is $150,000. It used to be a little smaller. Now we've actually looked at our performance, and our first check performs really well. We are investing typically at a sub $7 million valuation, so really, truly early stage. And what we do is after we write that first check, that's where we get the name. And the hustle is a velocity meets execution. So are they moving quickly? Are they shipping quickly? Is there some market pull? Does this business have something that the customers want, and you're able to really see that in some of the initial data points? If so, after a couple months, we will write a follow-on check that's a $200,000 check. And then those are the companies that we bring to Angel Squad. And so Angel Squad has this opportunity to invest after we've really kind of vetted the company. We have established some conviction that this is a team that has some hustle, and that's when people can write $1,000 checks into the same company at the same terms as our fund. And so that's what, if you're new to angel investing, you can kind of see, oh, this is the bar. This is Hustle Fund's bar for when they'll invest in a company. After that, Hustle Fund doesn't invest. We are done investing after we write that 150 and then 200K check. But those companies are going to go on and continue to raise money. And so in those in those subsequent rounds, Angel Squad will continue to have companies. it will not be alongside our fund at that stage in terms of the fact that we won't be participating out of our fund in, let's say, a Series A or Series B that's out of our scope. But angel investors like those opportunities too. And so we share them. These companies now probably are at millions in ARR, and they're, you know, a little bit more de-risked at that point. And some angel investors really like that. So anyway, there's kind of a wide range of, you could invest really early stage with our fund, or you can invest later stage without our fund at that point. Yeah.
Yeah. And even before presenting those, let's say, best performing deals in terms of financials, products, and market discovery, what process, how do you decide to invest in a company, or maybe at such an early stage, I would say not the company, but the team. So would you please explain us maybe the exact criteria that you look at?
Yeah. Well, and I'm glad you asked, because what we realized with Angel Squad 2 is we want to teach people our exact framework. Like if you are new to angel investing, how do you know what are the kind of the criteria you should be considering, right? And you know, we lay that out in detail. The Hustle Fund Deal Assessment Framework is what we call it. And we have actually a course for Angel Squad members to go through. And so you could think of things like, yes, the team is obviously incredibly important at the very early stage. There's the market. Is this a massive market? How massive? How many competitors are in this market? Is this a market that's going to, you know, have increasing costs to acquire? There's also, you know, around the team part, what's their fundraisability? Like, what does that look like for them? Are they great at sales? Are they really well connected to invest? Are they really good at telling the story and being good communicators of what their vision is? So that's another input that we actually really care about, because you need to be able to communicate, you know, your opportunity to attract future investments. It's not like you could raise 1 or 2 rounds of funding and then that's it. There's the product, right? Is this a product that's really solving a high value pain point? And how massive is the pain point? Is it like a hair on fire problem, or is it kind of a little bit more of like you could find substitutes for this? So those are just some of the very high level things within each of those buckets. We would probably list out like 10 different items that we care about. And then our process is actually to score the company on a scale of 1 to 4 for each of these different categories. So is the team a 1, 2, 3, or 4? 4 is best. And so, you know, looking across, okay, is this a great team? Let's say it's a 3 out of 4 for the team. Market is also 3 out of 4. Product, let's say, is a 1 or a 2. Fundraisability is a 2. You know, something like that. Probably you probably are not going to get an investment if the product is that weak and the fundraisability is that weak. So that's just kind of an example of like walking through some of the components and then scoring them, and then assessing. Once you kind of take a look at that and step back and say, okay, thinking through this now, like what should I do as an investor? Should I make the decision to go ahead and write this check? We need to score those different inputs.
Yeah. No, sounds like a very solid framework. It's just, I really recommend anybody to check out the website and to see it with their own proper eyes, and maybe to test on some examples.
Yeah.
And maybe Ryan, I have another question with regards to, you know, those teams. What is the process? How does it look like that the teams actually apply to you? Do you have any particular funnel, particular sort of channels of attracting those talented and dedicated teams? If it's not a secret.
No, we don't actually. We think that keeping that top of the funnel super wide is pretty important, and also in terms of just kind of democratizing the access to funding from us, right? And so that's actually part of the whole thesis is, you know, for example, let's say there are some funds that think about this way. Like, let's get some Stanford kids, right? Let's get Stanford kids for us. And so they just hammer Stanford campus, and they go door to door looking for engineers trying to invest in the companies that they eventually start. We're the kind of the opposite of that. We have a website. Come, anyone. You could be, you know, in Kenya. Come, and we will look at, what's your business opportunity? What's your team? What's your team's kind of background and connection with each other? And what have you been able to accomplish in a short period of time? And that's the hustle part. And I think that's where we really try to kind of smoke out what are the teams that are the most attractive at this point, without really trying to think through the pedigree or like maybe the communities that they're coming from.
Yeah, and what sort of industry that you're currently looking at that seem to you the most promising ones, even among the teams that are, applying to hustle funds?
Yeah, I mean, we focus specifically on software startups from all over the world. We're pretty sector agnostic. Could be a health tech company, it could be retail SaaS, but it really needs to be a software company. Capital, especially right now, is pretty hard to come by. Unit economics matter. Making sure that you don't need to raise just tons of cash over the next decade. We would rather invest in lean teams that can, make can kind of make it to the unicorn status without so those are some of the things that matter to us. But that's part of why we focus on software.
Yeah. No, I was about your personal sort of view. Which industries do you personally sort of excited, and maybe you believe in the 5 or 10 years they will be?
Yeah. I think this is a really interesting moment in time because of what's happening with AI and the adoption around it. I mean, I think AI has been used by many companies for a while now, but it's really had that moment when ChatGPT came out a year and a half ago or so, and people kind of the light bulb clicked for both consumers and entrepreneurs. And there's just a lot of different directions that this can, and it's both exciting and a little bit terrifying too, to see what happens. I think there's like huge opportunities in the media space. I think there's really interesting opportunities in the health tech space, really exciting. I think in the alloy production space, actually, we just invested in a company that's really interesting in that space. Just kind of development and identification of what, metal alloy combinations will. So I guess that's a pretty loose, but I think, we have a new platform here with AI. And I think when that happens, there's a whole, think back to the mobile change, right? Like that was a massive shift that when we were all walking around with flip phones, nobody could have imagined that you'd be able to just hit a button and you get a car to show up at your door in 5 minutes. That was not, you couldn't really wrap your head around that. And so like, that's where we're at here with this new technology. And 5 years from now, I think we're going to be pretty shocked at what.
Yeah, most probably in 2025, we will not be surprised to see a bunch of youngsters wearing, glasses on them and just. No, I suggest that we may be coming to the concluding part of discussion, and I couldn't not to ask you about your sort of the best and the worst that kind of you still regret. That what sort of a mistake did you make?
Sure. Yeah, I think probably the one I'm most proud of is a company called, I'm a big fan of marketplaces in general. This is rue.vet, and it's a veterinary marketplace, which does not sound sexy or all that, interesting, but it is an amazing business, amazing marketplace that really nailed the problem and in creating just a really dense marketplace for vets and vet techs to work at these. This is a company that I referred to Anne from Floodgate, who was, again, my mentor. We spent, I don't know, probably hundreds of hours on calls going through deals over time. And this was one where she actually led the investment into this company. And she's on the board. And so she's very happy with the outcome because they are doing super well. It's gone great for the past 2+ years at the, it's a real business. And I actually just talked to Anne, I think last week about it. And she's like, this company is a total rocket ship. And she's like very, very pleased with that. So that makes me happy. And also, we invested twice in that company with the Lyft syndicate. So I'm I'm happy for the investors in that one too, that they have a pretty good shot at. One that I'm bummed about is a company that I was very bullish on. The founder's excellent. The company was called Tiny Care, and they found this really interesting opportunity. Again, this is a marketplace. I really like investing in marketplaces because of my time at Lyft and some other marketplaces. They ended up shutting down last year, getting acquired, but it was more of an acqui-hire sort of situation. And it was a regulatory change that happened that we didn't really see coming, and it really slowed down. So it was something that I think had a lot of potential, a lot of opportunity for scale, that seemed like a kind of a home run, that I was really confident in, actually, was just throttled down. So unfortunately, that's the case there, and that's the land of startups. You never know what kind of side swipe you might experience along the way.
Yeah, shit happens. But that's the thing. Therefore, we recommending everybody to diversify. Please
right.
diversify the portfolio. Otherwise, you can be so screwed up, basically losing all your fortunes. But
yeah, you can't just don't just go all in on one. That's not how it works.
Yeah, without any eggs in one basket. But
Yep.
I didn't want to to end up on such a maybe the last question for you, Brian, today, and sort of a provocative one, but still, what is happiness to you?
Ooh. I think happiness is being in the present moment, enjoying the for me, it's being with my kids and my wife and my extended family, just being able to experience those sort of special moments together and really trying to stay present, absorb them. Hopefully that was an okay answer. I definitely feel like I probably should have prepared for that one. That's a good one.
No, amen. Brian, once again, thank you very much for your time, for this sincere. It's really a pleasure to meet and talk to you. So, anyway, just once again, I recommend to watch out the website of Angel Squad and Hustle Fund.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure. Yeah. See you.
See you.